Inflation is the general increase in the cost of goods and services in an economy. In this video, we will examine the fundamental factors behind inflation, different types of inflation, and who benefits from it. Almost every product or service can experience inflation, including necessities like housing, food, healthcare, and utilities, as well as wants like cosmetics, cars, and clothing. Now, once inflation is widespread across an economy, both consumers and companies share a common fear about the possibility of further escalation. Now, central banks of developed economies like the Federal Reserve of the United States monitors inflation. The Fed has an inflation target of about 2% and adjusts monetary policy to curb inflation if prices rise too much or too quickly. Now, inflation can be a problem because it reduces the value of monies saved today. Consumers' purchasing power is affected by inflation, which can even affect your retirement plan. For instance, if your inflation rate is 10%, your $1,000 savings will now be valued around $900, or your $1,000 product will now be priced around $1,100. Now, people whose earnings don't increase along with the cost of living will no longer be able to afford their lifestyle in an era of rising inflation. Now, hyperinflation is when inflation rate exceeds 50%. Stagflation is the result of inflation that happens during a recession, and this may result in hyper unemployment and extreme low spending. Let's look at some causes of inflation. Cost push inflation. Cost push inflation occurs when prices rise as a result of rising production costs, including raw materials and labor. Now, in this case, the supply of goods decreases as a result of higher manufacturing costs, and consumers pay higher prices for the products as a result of the increased production expenses. One indicator of possible cost push inflation can be seen in rising commodity prices such as oil and metals, since they are major production inputs. For instance, if the price of copper rises, companies that uses copper to make their products might increase the prices of their goods. As a result, higher prices for consumers. Now, rising employee wages and natural disasters can also contribute to cost push inflation. Let's look at the demand pull inflation. A product or service that is in high demand may be experiencing demand pull inflation. Prices for a wide range of commodities tend to rise as demand for those goods surges. Now, while short-term supply and demand imbalances are typically not a cause for concern, continuous demand can have an impact and drive up price for products, leading to demand pull inflation. Consumer confidence tends to be high when unemployment is low and wages are rising, leading to more spending. Economic expansion also has a direct impact on the level of consumer spending in an economy, which can lead to a high demand for products and services. Now, according to the economic principle of supply and demand, People are prepared to pay more for an item when there are very few of them available. As a result, demand pull inflation occurs. Now, companies also contribute to inflation by freely raising prices when the product being sold is one that consumers must have on a daily basis, such as oil and gas. However, it is the demand from the consumers that gives the company the power to raise prices. Now, the expansionary fiscal policy. Central banks can lower interest rates by implementing an expansionary monetary policy in order to increase bank lending to consumers and businesses. Now, this is similar to what was covered in our previous video, so you may want to check it out. The increase in money available throughout the economy leads to more spending and demand for goods and services. Now, government expansionary fiscal policies can also raise the amount of discretionary income available to both businesses and consumers. Now, tax relief allows businesses to invest in new projects, increase wages, or hire more people. The government could also stimulate the economy by increasing spending on infrastructure projects, and this could result in more spending and increase in demand for goods and services, leading to price increases. How is inflation measured? There are a few metrics that are used to measure the inflation rate. One of them is the Consumer Price Index, CPI. Now, CPI measures the price of a basket of goods and services in the economy, including food, cars, education, and recreation. Also, there is the Producer Price Index, PPI. Now, PPI tracks price changes that affect domestic producers. Now, the PPI measures for fuel, farm products, chemical products, and metals. The price increase that causes the PPI to spike gets passed on to consumers, and this will reflect in the Consumer Price Index. Now, who benefits from inflation? While consumers don't benefit much from inflation, investors can profit if they hold assets in markets affected by the inflation. For instance, if energy costs are rising, investors in energy businesses may see a rise in the value of their stocks. Now, some companies benefit from inflation if they can raise the price of their product as a result of a rise in consumer demand. Now, if the economy is performing well and housing demand is high, real estate companies can charge higher prices for selling their homes. In other words, inflation can give companies more pricing power and boost their profit margins. Business owners can deliberately withhold supplies from the market in order to push prices high. However, companies can also be hurt by inflation if it is the result of a surge in production costs. For instance, if the rise in production costs have no impact on foreign goods, then there will be no need to raise prices in order to avoid losing your customers to imported goods. So, local-based companies may have to absorb the higher production expenses. Alright, thanks for watching this video. Kindly subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. We are just getting started on central banks, inflation, and up next will be how to hedge your investments against inflation. Share and then see you in the next video.